I keep going back to this point that most of our customers who come to us, our clients, they come to us because they want leads right away. That's it. The plan that we typically set forth is, there's lead gen and then there's demand gen. And there's distinct difference between the two. And as you've indicated, is lead gen is short-term thinking at this point. And demand gen allows you to create what is essentially this evergreen marketing machine if you do it correctly, but it takes time. You did allude to the point that there is data that can be derived pretty quickly. Even though this is a campaign that could take some time to build up and get dialed in, there is data that we're seeing early on that can be used across their team or our client's team to help them drive more, right? To increase their pipeline.
Absolutely.
What is some of that data that we're seeing for our clients? And where is that data, right? How do we know that data is any good?
Yeah, I think most of that data for us, like if we're doing work in LinkedIn, most of the data will live in LinkedIn. I mean, there's some site data stuff that we can kind of refer to, which is, the usual stuff like site traffic and all that, like where they are, where they're going, all that time on page. There's a ton of stuff to squeeze out of analytics, but I think the real value is what's happening in LinkedIn. What are they consuming? What do they appear to like? Comments, likes, all that kind of stuff, shares, all that stuff. What appears to be like the most value, not just to us, but to our customers, is that company list. Who is it?
And when you say the company list, of what we're seeing is names of companies, not specifically individuals, but companies that are engaging in that top of funnel content.
Yeah.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that information then could be utilized by our clients' sales teams.
Right. They can start doing the research.
Right. It won't be first name, last name at specific company looked at your content, but it would be a company and then maybe seniority or position. That would allow the account executive to, this is not a highly scalable way of doing it, but allow them to dig into LinkedIn, do a little sleuthing and find out who that individual is. That is a good way to now use LinkedIn, is that you now know that people at that company are consuming your content. This may be an opportunity for you to do a real personalized outreach on LinkedIn with more content, or at least an engaging opening, because now that there's a product, and also because now that there's a product market fit with that company, and you can have these discussions internally at your company, say, look, how would they be using our solution? If you never thought of that company, why would they even be engaging in this? So now all of a sudden you're now opening up potentially new markets.
I mean, there's all kinds of discovery that can take place in there. What your sales teams do with it is, I think again is got to be careful. Like, this is not an excuse to just
spam them,
to start spamming again. We're using it to say, hey, are these the brands that we want to be communicating with? If we look at the landscape of titles and seniorities and companies, are we, right companies, right message? You'll know by the kind of engagement that you get, the kind of upticks that you get, and you'll start seeing the leads and the rest of it. And I think to me, that's the most valuable thing, is that's what I'm checking with my clients every time, is like, are we on? Is this where we want to be? And if it is, like, let's double down on some of these. If you're really doing some kind of high-end enterprise stuff, you can get really custom in that. You can start building maybe some campaigns. If there's enough audience at some of these, major enterprises, like, some of the Googles and Facebooks and stuff like that, you can develop campaigns just for them. You can kind of do that kind of work.
Right.
If you've got the budget for it, you can, it kind of gets into hyper-personalization there, and
very, very personalized ABM as well. Yeah. So, right. Well, that's, this is all real interesting stuff, right? Because, again, bringing this back to, prospecting on LinkedIn, is it possible? Well,
yeah, very possible.
You just need to have a framework and a model that makes sense. And that's what we're describing right now, is creating content, not for the sake of creating content, but of creating value, right? Of putting yourselves out there. And you're talking about being a thought leader and having a voice in the space. And this idea of, there are users in market right now, or we could say they have intent, But what we're essentially saying is that by creating a demand generation campaign, you're going further up the funnel, where most people aren't even considering. And that's thinking 3 months before there's intent, right? Being there 3 months before they realize that they need to make a purchasing decision. Because by the time they have intent, if you are operating a SaaS business in a competitive space, then you're now competing head to head, right?
Right.
With your competitors.